Imagine you're at a busy four-way intersection. You arrive first so you have the right-of-way, but what if the other car doesn't yield? This everyday scenario mirrors the challenge faced by stand-on vessels at sea. Rule 17 of the International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea (COLREGS) addresses this exact moment, when to trust the system and when to act to avoid disaster. While it may seem that being the stand-on vessel is simple, just maintain course and speed, the reality is far more psychologically demanding. You must monitor the give-way vessel, trust they'll do their job, and be ready to act if they don't. This video will break down Rule 17 and why standing still can be the hardest job on the water. Without Rule 17, stand-on vessels would face an impossible choice. Either maintain course and risk collision if the give-way vessel fails to act, or maneuver preemptively and risk causing confusion. Rule 17 introduces a graduated response system, allowing the stand-on vessel to trust the system at first, then act if trust is misplaced, and finally take decisive action if a collision becomes imminent. This structure ensures that both vessels have clear responsibilities, reducing the risk of accidents caused by indecision or miscommunication. Understanding why Rule 17 exists is key to appreciating its importance in maritime safety. Rule 17 is built around three main stages: trust, permission, and mandate. First, the stand-on vessel maintains course and speed, providing a predictable target for the give-way vessel. If it becomes apparent that the give-way vessel isn't acting, the stand-on vessel may take action to avoid collision. Finally, if a collision can't be avoided by the give-way vessel's action alone, the stand-on vessel must act decisively. This progression allows for a balance between predictability and safety, ensuring that both vessels have opportunities to prevent accidents before it's too late. First part of Rule 17 requires the stand-on vessel to maintain its course and speed. This means keeping your compass heading and engine speed steady, allowing the give-way vessel to predict your movement. Minor adjustments for wind or current are acceptable, but significant changes can increase the risk of collision. This stage only applies when there is a risk of collision and both vessels are in sight of each other. By maintaining a steady course, you help create a predictable environment, making it easier for the give-way vessel to maneuver safely. Predictability is crucial at sea. If the stand-on vessel suddenly changes speed or direction, it can confuse the give-way vessel and increase the risk of collision. Think of it like walking on a sidewalk. If both people keep changing direction, they're more likely to bump into each other. By maintaining course and speed, the stand-on vessel provides a stable reference point, allowing the give-way vessel to plan and execute their maneuver safely. This principle underpins the entire structure of Rule 17. There are exceptions to the requirement to maintain course and speed. This obligation only applies when there is a risk of collision and the vessels are in sight of each other. At long range, before any risk develops, you're free to maneuver as needed. The key is to recognize when the situation changes from safe to potentially dangerous, and to adjust your actions accordingly. This flexibility is built into Rule 17 to accommodate the dynamic nature of maritime navigation. If it becomes apparent that the give-way vessel isn't taking appropriate action, Rule 17 allows the stand-on vessel to act. The key word here is may. This stage is permissive, not mandatory. The decision to act is based on observation. If the distance is closing and the bearing isn't changing, or if communication attempts go unanswered, it's time to consider maneuvering. Acting early once it's clear the give-way vessel isn't responding can prevent emergencies later on. Do you know when it's time to act? Look for signs like the distance between vessels decreasing without any change in bearing, or if the give-way vessel hasn't acted when they should have. Radar and visual observations, as well as unanswered radio calls, can all indicate that the give-way vessel isn't complying. This stage requires judgment and vigilance, as waiting too long can turn a manageable situation into an emergency. Once it becomes apparent the give-way vessel isn't acting, the stand-on vessel should sound 5 short blasts, the danger signal, attempt VHF communication, and consider altering course or speed to increase separation. The chosen maneuver should best avoid collision while respecting the restrictions of Rule 17c. Acting promptly at this stage can make the difference between a safe passage and a close call. And a collision cannot be avoided by the give-way vessel's action alone. Rule 17b requires the stand-on vessel to act. This is no longer optional, it's mandatory. Stand-on vessel must choose the maneuver that best aids in avoiding collision, which may involve drastic actions like going full astern or making a hard turn. The goal is to maximize safety and minimize the risk of impact, even if it means breaking from the original course and speed. Determining when to act under Rule 17b often comes down to judgment. Maritime professionals use rules of thumb like time to closest point of approach (CPA) or distance in ship lengths, but every situation is unique. Large, slow vessels may need to act sooner than small, agile ones. The key is to recognize when the give-way vessel can no longer prevent a collision on their own and to act without hesitation. When Rule 17b is triggered, the stand-on vessel must do more than just something. They must do the best thing possible to avoid a collision. This might mean a full stop, a hard turn, or a combination of maneuvers. The stand-on vessel should also consider what the give-way vessel might still do, coordinating actions to avoid both vessels turning into each other. The focus is always on maximizing safety. Courts consistently hold that stand-on vessels share fault in collisions if they fail to act under Rule 17b, even if the give-way vessel was primarily at fault. Rule 17b creates a positive duty to act when a collision is imminent. Failing to fulfill this duty can result in license suspension, civil liability, and insurance issues. It's a reminder that responsibility doesn't end with having the right of way. Rule 17c introduces a critical restriction. In a crossing situation, the stand-on vessel should not turn to port left if the give-way vessel is on its port side. This is to prevent both vessels from turning toward each other, which increases the risk of collision. The only exceptions are if circumstances make a port turn the only safe option, such as obstructions or emergency situations. This rule reinforces the importance of turning away from danger, not toward it. Logic behind the port turn restriction is simple. If both vessels turn in opposite directions, they move away from each other. If the stand-on vessel turns to port while the give-way vessel turns to starboard, they risk turning toward each other, increasing collision danger. This rule is designed to keep vessels moving apart, not together, in critical moments. Sometimes turning to port is the only safe option, such as when there are obstructions to starboard or if the give-way vessel has already turned to port. Rule 17C allows for these exceptions, recognizing that seamanship sometimes requires breaking the usual rules to ensure safety. The key is to always prioritize collision avoidance, even if it means making an unconventional maneuver. Rule 17D makes it clear, even if the stand-on vessel takes action, the give-way vessel is still obligated to keep out of the way. This clause prevents give-way vessels from assuming they can ignore their duties, relying on the stand-on vessel to avoid a collision. Both vessels remain responsible for safety, and investigations will hold the give-way vessel primarily at fault if they fail to comply. Let's walk through a real-world scenario. Cargo ship A is the stand-on vessel and container ship B is the give-way vessel in a crossing situation. At 5 miles apart, cargo ship A maintains course and speed. As the distance closes to 3 miles, it's clear container ship B isn't acting. Cargo ship A sounds 5 short blasts and attempts radio communication. At 1.5 miles, still no response, so cargo ship A alters course to starboard. When the distance closes to 0.5 miles, both vessels take drastic action, narrowly avoiding collision. This progression demonstrates the 3 stages of Rule 17 in practice. After a near miss or collision, investigations look closely at the actions of both vessels. In our scenario, container ship B is found primarily at fault for failing to give way, while cargo ship A is commended for following Rule 17 and taking timely action. The captain of the give-way vessel may face license suspension and the company may incur penalties. This underscores the importance of understanding and applying Rule 17 correctly. Frequent mistake is believing that being the stand-on vessel means you don't need to do anything. In reality, Rule 17 requires continuous monitoring of the give-way vessel's actions. You must be ready to transition from maintaining course to taking action as the situation develops. Complacency can be just as dangerous as acting too soon. Another mistake is acting too early before it's apparent the give-way vessel won't act. Preemptive maneuvers can confuse the give-way vessel and actually increase the risk of collision. Trust the system initially and only act when it's clear the other vessel isn't following the rules. Timing is everything in collision avoidance. On the flip side, waiting too long to act under Rule 17A, Roman 2 can be just as dangerous. Missing the opportunity to act early means you may be forced into emergency maneuvers under Rule 17B, which are riskier and less effective. The preferred approach is to act promptly once it's apparent the give-way vessel isn't responding. Turning to port in a crossing situation when the give-way vessel is on your port side is a classic error. This maneuver turns you toward the danger, increasing the risk of collision. Unless circumstances make it the only safe option, always turn to starboard right to move away from the other vessel. Some believe that if a collision occurs, it's entirely the give-way vessel's fault. However, Rule 17B imposes a duty on the stand-on vessel to act when necessary. Courts will assign shared fault if the stand-on vessel fails to take action to avoid a collision, even if the give-way vessel was primarily at fault. Failing to sound danger signals or attempt VHF communication when taking action is a serious oversight. 5 short blasts alert the give-way vessel to danger, and radio communication can clarify intentions. Using all available tools increases the chances of avoiding a collision and demonstrates good seamanship. Relying solely on autopilot or AIS to detect and respond to give-way vessels is risky. Rule 17 requires human judgment to determine when to transition between stages. Technology is a helpful tool, but it doesn't replace the need for vigilant watchkeeping and timely decision-making. Violating Rule 17 can have serious consequences: shared fault in collisions, license suspension, civil liability, and insurance issues. Investigations will examine when the stand-on vessel became aware of the give-way vessel's inaction, whether timely action was taken, and if maneuvers were reasonable. Vessel data recorders and AIS provide precise records, making it easier to determine responsibility. Help remember Rule 17, use the acronym STAND: stand your ground, maintain course speed, time to act when apparent, act decisively when critical, no port turns in crossing, and don't relieve give-way vessel of their duty. This simple mnemonic can help you recall the key points of Rule 17 when it matters most. Rule 17 teaches lessons that go beyond maritime navigation. It's about knowing when to trust a system, when to take precautionary action, and when to act decisively in emergencies. These principles apply to financial risk management, medical emergencies, project management, and even autonomous vehicle ethics. Understanding Rule 17 can help you navigate complex systems in any field. For those interested in autonomous navigation, Rule 17 presents fascinating challenges. How does artificial intelligence determine when it becomes apparent that another vessel isn't acting? What risk thresholds trigger action? How do autonomous vessels communicate their status to human operators? These questions are at the forefront of maritime technology and safety research. Sum up, Rule 17 governs stand-on vessel actions in 3 stages: maintain course and speed, act if the giveaway vessel isn't responding, and act decisively if a collision can't be avoided by their action alone. Don't turn to port in a crossing situation unless absolutely necessary, and remember that both vessels remain responsible for safety. Trust the system, but always verify and be ready to act. Rule 17 is psychologically the hardest rule to execute because it demands trust, vigilance, judgment, decisiveness, and the ability to overcome instinct. The natural tendency is to act too early or wait too long, but Rule 17 provides a framework to resist both extremes. Whether you're studying for maritime certifications or just fascinated by risk management, Rule 17 is a masterclass in graduated response. Remember, being stand-on doesn't mean standing still forever, it means knowing exactly when to act to ensure safety.